Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we're going to be going over the top premium battleships at each tier. Subjective list, of course, these are my picks, so your mileage may vary. And let me know in the comments if you think I spot on with these or if you got some differences of opinion. I always like to hear what you guys think when it comes to these top ships lists. Of course, this is early 2021 when we're making this. Aircraft carriers not permanently in the game, so we're not going to be taking those into account currently. And of course, the list of premiums is going to continue to increase over time. So this is kind of a snapshot in history. We'll probably update the lists as time goes on and more ships become available. But this is how the layout lies, at least according to me, at this point in time. Tier 3, you can see here, we got Arkansas, we got NASA, and Arkansas are two choices. Now, Arkansas is kind of a beast. You can run it two different ways. You can put a secondary build on there, or you can run an accuracy build. It's got the artillery plotting room module available in the slot 4. That's usually a tier 7 American battleship module that increases the accuracy. So very accurate for a tier 3 battleship. Probably the most accurate in the game. And that's why I personally like it. You can get a lot of depth strikes with this one. But if you want to slap on Lee and run a secondary build, that is viable as well. And you can have a lot of fun running it that way. NASA, maybe you can make a strong case for NASA. It's probably a little bit easier to play just due to the fact that it's a lot more tanky. It's got guns on both sides so you can flop around like a fish, keep shooting. Secondary is pretty strong on this one as well. Accuracy, I think, does that one have artillery plotting room as well? It seems like it's a pretty accurate ship for a German battleship anyways, but it's not as accurate as the Arkansas, so you can definitely make a case there. If you're not running the historical camels, you'll see those glorious golden fists adorning the front end of the ship, and that turns it into a ramming machine, of course. So you can have a lot of fun with the NASA, but performance-wise, in my mind, Arkansas comes out just a little bit on top. Tier 4, currently we got 3 options. Texas, in my mind, probably the least valuable. Really solid AA suite, so this one's going to gain value as time goes on. But essentially, it's kind of like a premium version of the New York. New York is not one of my favorite ships to play in the game. In fact, it's probably one of my least favorite battleships. So Texas is a little bit better than New York. They tweak it here and there. But in my mind, it's not the strongest. Really comes down to Nikolai I or Giulio Cesare. Now, you guys can see here with the background footage, I went with the Nikolai 1. Most people, I think, would probably go with the Cesare, and you can make a very strong case for both of them. Cesare a little bit more overall capable, I'd say. More mobile, more of a traditional play style. Nikolai 1, very tanky. You can punch through its upper part of the nose. You can get some damage that way. Aside from that, though, when angled in, it's extremely tanky. So Nikolai 1 can be tough to discharge. You got 3 of the 4 turrets are they rotate through the front of the ship, so you can really angle your ship with ease. You don't have to wait for the guns to flip all the way around. You can just go from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, no problem. So, a well-played Nikolai, very tough to dislodge. If you can get it on the flank, of course, like any Russian battleship, you can blow it up pretty quickly. So, again, you can make the case, those of you that like more of a flowing, mobile type of a battleship, definitely would prefer the Cesare. More of a run-stopping, plug-the-hole type of a battleship, you're going to probably prefer the Nikolai 1. So, either of those very strong. I give the slight edge to the Nikolai I, but you can make a case for either of them, of course. Tier 5, things get to be interesting here. We got a lot more options. 3 American entries. You got Arizona, California, and West Virginia. These are all very solid, and they're probably the tankiest out of all these Tier 5 premium battleships. They all play a little bit different. West Virginia's got the most dangerous guns, but they're a little bit wonky when it comes to the accuracy. California, of course, has the goofball armor. You never really know what is going to happen when you shoot that thing. And, pretty good accuracy on that one as well. And then the Arizona, kind of the middle of the pack between all these, but you can make a case that Arizona might be the strongest out of all those. If you prefer, any of those American ones, I can't necessarily disagree with you there. They're all pretty solid. Japanese battleships, we got the Mutsu. Now, the Mutsu is kind of like a down-tiered Nagato, at least in terms of the guns for sure. But it has different shells. They're not as effective in terms of performance. So it's got some balancing factors, but it's kind of like a early version of the Nagato that's at tier 5. So the guns, when they hit, and the accuracy on those is pretty wonky, but when they hit pretty hard, and you can have some fun with that. The problem is if you get focused by the enemy, you're not going to last very long. It also has torps that launch kind of right off the side of the ship, about 7 kilometers, I believe. Not something you'd want to rely on, but sometimes you can catch people by surprise when they're not expecting the torps coming out of those. Germans, we got the PE Friedrich. Pretty solid ship. I think a lot of you guys would probably like that one as well. Accuracy-wise, it's more of a standard battleship accuracy, so much more accurate than the Germans. Not quite as strong with the turtle back, but still pretty durable overall. Friedrich was definitely in contention for the top slot here, but didn't quite make it. Dunkirk, I like playing the Dunkirk, but those of you that are playing the Jean Bart or the Richelieu might be used to that armor scheme when you're playing these forward-firing French battleships. This one not nearly as durable when you're playing that role, so you do have to play it pretty carefully, and you'd almost rather be playing it more of a mobile style than just stationary run-stopping, plug-the-hole type of style. So Dunkirk, if you play it well and you can protect yourself, solid ship, but not the top slot there. Top spot for me, of course, goes to the Warspite. I think this is probably one of the most accurate battleships in the game, and the guns are just a lot of fun. You can have a great time playing the Warspite. Armor-wise, you can bounce about half the battleships at the tier, so you got to look out for the higher caliber ships such as Bayern, Mutsu, West Virginia, anything like that. Roughly half the ships, and of course, if you're up tiered into tier 6, you got to really be careful because most of those ships can punch through you. But like I say, the combination of great guns and all around characteristics of the ship puts it at the top slot in my pick. One of my favorite ships in the game. Moving into tier 6, got a lot of options here as well. Starting off, we got Ignis Purgatio and Ragnarok, two Warhammer ships. They're both very cool looking ships, but unfortunately they're carbon copies of the Nagato in terms of the performance, which isn't necessarily what you want. I mean, there's a little bit of a difference in stats here and there, but those are essentially what those ships are. So, they're kind of cool looking, but they're not the greatest performance-wise. Ashitaka, Japanese battleship. Again, like the Mutsu was kind of a down-tiered Nagato. This is kind of like a down-tiered Amagi. Again, kind of early versions of the shells, early version of the hull. Think of it like that. But Ashitaka, kind of like the Mutsu, a little bit wonky in terms of performance. But I think I actually like that ship quite a bit. I don't play it quite as much as I would like to. But you can have a lot of fun on the Ashitaka. Nothing to sleep on there. Nelson coming in with the Brits. We got 3 British ones. Nelson would probably take the cake for a lot of players. You can make the case it's pretty durable. You got to be baiting the shots into the cheeks. If you can do that, then it's quite tanky. If ships know to shoot you in the nose, or if you're getting caught broadside, you're going to get smashed around very quickly. But you can print multiple copies of the ship. It's got probably the best heal in the game, definitely a super heal, and it's capable of regenerating many times over. So Nelson, great option there. Pretty good guns, forward firing 3 turrets on the nose. Interesting layout. Overall, very solid. Definitely one of the contenders of tier 6. I really like the hood too. I think I might even like the hood a little bit better than Nelson personally, but different playstyle. You got a lot more HP in the hood, more mobility, smaller caliber guns, just completely different playstyle. And then Duke of York is essentially a premium King George V. So if you like that ship, you might like the Duke of York, but that's not necessarily the strongest ship in my mind, at least according to my playstyle. Another sleeper pick, Poltava. This one isn't that well appreciated. I think it's a pretty solid ship. Armor-wise, it's not as tanky as a lot of the Russians. There's weak spots, but it's still pretty tanky. I'd run this one with Galler. He's the only Russian battleships I run Galler on. Seems to run much better in that configuration. Accuracy, much more of a standard battleship. So, Galler just tends to do better in my mind with that one. But, of course, top dog, Scharnhorst. You've been checking out the footage here. Scharnhorst is one of the most fun ships to play. It's universally loved by almost everyone who gets it. You got the torpedoes, you got the really tanky ship. It's just one of those ships that if you can kind of get in up close and personal, it's very hard to dislodge. So anytime you get a Scharnhorst that's like very near you, coming towards you, you should have a little bit of a knot in your stomach because you're probably going to go down, assuming they know what they're doing. So Scharnhorst, one of the classic ships in the game, probably my favorite Tier 6 battleship, and definitely one of the strongest ones. Tier 7, lots of good options as well. For Americans, we got Alabama, Green XP ship, and Massachusetts, Campaign Reward ship. Massachusetts, if I had more and more experience with it, it's still relatively new. That one might take the top spot at some point. I was considering giving it to it now. Very good. You got the secondaries going off on this one. Good American performance overall. So Massachusetts is great. Alabama, more of a traditional battleship. I really like that one as well. I like playing it more than the Iowa just due to the better mobility, but the guns aren't quite as dangerous. Key is one that I got to test drive, but don't currently own. That was kind of one you had to... I don't even know how you got it. I think it was Christmas crates or something like that. It's kind of designed to be like a brawler, but it doesn't have the armor to do it, so it's kind of in a weird spot. I personally didn't fall in love with the Key, but I've seen a couple of people say they really like it. Monarch, very solid. Super heal on that one as well. Good performing guns. A lot of people would just shoot HE. I tend to run the AP more on the Monarch personally, but that's a very solid pick. I've put up some wicked damage numbers with that. You also have German Tirpitz and Odin, 2 more ships with torpedoes, good secondaries. Odin kind of more close to the Scharnhorst in terms of gun performance. Tirpitz a little bit closer to the Bismarck, but those are both solid. There's fans of those, no doubt. Gascon, not a horrible ship, but when I'm going down this list, it's definitely toward the bottom. It was one that I was kind of holding off on getting with the green XP, but eventually I got so much green XP that I caved. Now that I got it, I'll play it, and I do enjoy it, and I've been having some pretty good games with it, but still not as strong as a lot of these. And Roma for Italians, campaign reward ship. I don't know if you'll be able to get that again anytime soon. That's a pretty fun ship. The guns a little bit wonky once in a while with the accuracy, but they're pretty solid hitting. It's kind of pretty similar as the Cesare in feel overall, but a couple of key differences. Overall, Roma's pretty dang good, but my top pick, still the king of the tier, Jean Bart. Not if you park it on the moon and then you watch the game through the Hubble telescope, then it's worthless. But if you're going to play it, especially trying to get into flanking positions on the sides of the map, using that mobility, a well-played Jean Bart is an absolute terror. So kind of like the top destroyer. I mean, Udachi was the only option, but a well-played Udachi, very, very dangerous. Well-played Jean Bart, same thing. Very, very dangerous. Very durable if it can maintain its angling. Gun performance is solid. You got the reload booster. You got the speed. Not a lot to not like. So the Jean Bart, don't hit it in reverse and then get up and leave the room. Stay relevant. Stay trying to get on the flank, and you'll absolutely wreck the enemy team in the Jean Bart. So a lot of fun there. We don't know if that one will ever be available again. Only time will tell. Anyway, that's a look at the list from my perspective, guys. Again, I want to see what you guys think in the comments, if you think I got them right or wrong. But if you enjoyed that video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We got lots of World of Warships coming all the time. And we'll see y'all later. Peace!